Welcome to episode 329 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsberg, and my guest this week is Jill McKinley. How are you, Jill? Glad to have you back.
Oh, thank you. I'm doing great, and it's great to see all of you again.
Yes, glad you were able to make it. And Jeff Gamet is back. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right, and I'm so happy to see you. And everyone, I'm so happy to see all of you.
Yes, yeah, as well as Marty Jencius. He made it here today this week. And how you doing?
Yeah, we talked before show. It's been a rough couple of days, but this is the icing on top. So
absolutely,
just happy to be here with great friends. Yeah,
there was a lot of stuff going on this week for me, and but we're gonna get through it. And I couldn't miss this, so that's why I made sure we do our show this week. And we have plenty to talk about. I can tell you that I got some real good discussion about Vision Pro with Marty and the rest of the panel this week. Well as beta, we got 18.1 release candidate, 18.2 is out, and a lot of stuff about that. The iPad mini is out. We'll talk a little about touch upon that, and then a bunch of other great things. But as I've just kind of made this the normal thing here with the show each week is our In Touch with Vision Pro this week. And first discussion here is going to be about the second seed of Vision OS 2.0, the release candidate. Apple just released that upcoming 2.1 update for developers for testing purposes, and so far nothing else has really been discovered. I haven't discovered anything. Yes, I run beta on the Vision Pro because it's not a primary device, and I'm like living on the edge, and so I know Marty does too. If you notice anything with the latest beta?
People are still complaining that there's no MacBook Vision, extended Vision kind of setup for it. I haven't noticed anything. There are some things that it says in terms of this RC, which is the release candidate of it, is really at kind of fixing issues that with Apple Music and videos when they fail to play. Not a lot things that we'll notice in this candidate in terms of release.
Yeah, I didn't really notice much. I just always make sure I do the update once I see it announced, and because hey, we can do that.
Yeah.
So it not much else we could talk about here, but a couple other news stories and other stories related to and topics here related to Vision Pro. Vimeo released a Vision Pro app with spatial video support after YouTube shuns the Apple's headset. Vimeo has announced it released a native app for the Vision Pro headset, allowing users to view, upload, and share spatial videos. Of course, we know spatial videos are three-dimensional depth, making scenes look more immersive and lifelike. And spatial videos can be watched on the Vision Pro and recorded on the Vision Pro and on all iPhone 16 models and 15 Pro models. So you can get them right in to be able to take a look at that. So Vimeo's announcement also reiterates Apple's plan to update Final Cut later this year to enable users to edit special videos on their Mac, which is pretty cool. Vimeo has embraced the Vision Pro, comes after YouTube shunned the headset. Earlier this year, it was reported that YouTube had no plans to release an app for Vision Pro. And if we remember, we talked about the app Juno that just got kicked out of the App Store because it was against their terms of service. So I have not had a chance to download Vimeo. I don't know if you have, Marty.
No, again, 2 absolutely crazy days for me work-wise, so I haven't had time to sit with it. I am excited about this, though, because Eric and I talk about it on Vision Profiles that there are a few apps where you can put your stuff on your Vision Pro and then watch it through that particular app. But it really sounds like Vimeo is embracing the idea of just a platform for it. And I think that's a plus. They found a niche there with people who are doing this spatial video and a place to put it where it can be shared easily. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me too. So we'll have to get out and do that and get it on there. So couple stories here. I've got 3 stories here, but we're going to just kind of combine these into one, just about a brief discussion. And it just kind of irks me. I've been hearing so much negativity about the Vision Pro, and I understand the fact that some people just think, especially mainstream media, it's like, oh yeah, it's a failure. You're not going to, Apple just really just took a dump on it. It's not great. This was in the Wall Street Journal, and free link for everybody to read here. It says virtual reality software developers have not embraced Vision Pro, which has lower than expected sales in its first year. Vision Pro has been struggling to attract major software makers to develop apps for the device, and it's a challenge that threatens to slow the progress of the company's biggest new product in a decade. New apps were released on the Vision Pro every month, but then slowed since launch, which I didn't notice in January. It's a chicken and egg problem here, and then they really are thinking that it's an issue now, and investors are kind of questioning whether the Vision Pro is going to be a thing. Meta announced their new device, like the Quest headset, and there's all kinds of other things here, and it goes on and on about the differences and what apps have been released, and then it breaks it down. There's barely any in the last couple months here. So, what's your thought on this? I'd like to bring in the whole panel. I mean, I know we're getting Marty on this since we're both owners, but Jeff, if you had a chance to look at this all, what do you think where the Vision Pro is going to go? And I'd love to hear your opinion.
All right, let's look at Apple's track record.
Yeah.
Apple releases the iPod.
Right, which is 21 years, what was it? 23 years ago.
Yeah, like it was this week, actually.
Like yesterday.
Okay, I brought that up just coincidentally for the timing. That seriously that had nothing to do with that. Apple releases the iPod. What did the media say? It's overpriced. It doesn't have features. No one's going to buy it. And initially, sales were slow. Over time, it ramped up, and it became the portable media player platform. Apple releases the iPhone. It's called overpriced, underfeatured, and it was underfeatured. It was barely a beta product. It was practically just an alpha product when it was released. And it didn't sell great. And because sales were slow at first, just like with the iPod, the media says, well, it's stalled. This is going to be a failure for Apple, and they're going to pull out of the market. And where are we now with the iPhone?
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump ahead a few years. Apple releases the Apple Watch. Do you see a pattern here?
Mm-hmm.
And same thing. Now here we have the Vision Pro. Exact same story, exact same problems that the media is talking about, and Apple is doing exactly what they did with all of those other products, which is playing a long game. And the problem that I'm seeing for a lot of developers right now isn't related so much to how many units Apple is selling, but more to what the media is saying. And I remember being at conferences after the iPhone was released, after the Apple Watch was released. And initially for the iPhone, you couldn't even make apps. But so I'll just focus on Apple Watch. Apple Watch is out, and I'm asking developers, product makers, are you going to have Apple Watch support? Well, no, we'll watch and see what happens because no one's buying it. And that wasn't true. People were buying them. It's just that the media said no one was. And so you had these companies where they're like, oh, well, look, I read the news reports. No one's buying it, so we're not going to support it. Those companies ended up missing out or having to play serious catch up because they didn't have their apps out. And as the product ramped up, the companies that were already there, they got to be the winners. I think the same thing is happening with Vision Pro, and it may not be selling like gangbusters right now. I don't think Apple expected it to. I think Tim Cook even recently said that Vision Pro is a product for early adopters, and it is currently not seen as something that they consider a mainstream product. But they're playing a long game. So I don't think Apple's getting out of the Vision Pro market. And are sales slumping? Well, only Apple knows for sure. So
they don't publicize it,
and they don't tell us. So I'm not worried about Vision Pro right now. If 2 years from now we're having the exact same conversation and literally nothing has changed, now I'm worried.
Jill, do you have any thoughts about this at all?
Well, I really want one, but the price tag kind of scared me away, but I was glad while we were at Macstock that we got a chance to use it and try it out. I have an Oculus 3 that I do a lot of things with, and I still use quite a bit. And I saw how beautiful the Apple Vision is, and I think they have something there. And people are going to appreciate making apps for something that's so beautiful, that just has such a vivid display for it. But I'm also thinking about the productivity uses of it, of having monitors, of being able to be anywhere and have a full case of it. So I think they're on the right track. I don't mind them being slow because I want them to do the right thing, with it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the future and then someday buying one.
Yes, I would hope so for you as well. All right, Marty, it's all yours.
Oh boy,
what are your thoughts
here
on this?
goes.
I saved the best for last on this.
I've spent a lot of time in the Apple store lately because with these international teachers, they're constantly wanting me to go there. And frankly, you get a little worried when you look over to the Apple Vision Pro setup table where people can get, and there's no one there. And one store in particular that I go to, the guy looks like a sad carny, asking kids to come on, please go on my ride. So, I get a little worried about the interest, but I think for folks who are in the store, they've either already done it or they've already made a decision about it. They've done the demo or they've heard about the demo. So that's just one sort of thing that I've seen. These articles are wrought with all sorts of problems.
Right.
First of all, the initial problem, trying to compare Apple Vision Pro to a Meta. Two completely different platforms. I have a Meta. I bought a Meta S or 3S just to do some comparative with it. I'll give it to the kids at Thanksgiving meal and let them play with it. But completely different platforms, and they keep making that comparison. They also continue to make a price comparison, which doesn't tell most readers anything but the difference in the price. So it seems like the media, or at least some of these articles, are invested in talking about, you get more flies, I guess, with vinegar than you do with sugar. So it's more important for them to kind of put that forth. And then the supply chain stuff, undisclosed supplies parts are saying that Apple is reducing their orders. We don't know what parts they're talking about. They might be parts that are being used in a upgrade version of the Vision Pro, and they've decided to go with another part that's either cheaper or better than what has been produced from the companies that they're cutting off the supplies with. So all of this is speculative. I think Apple's going to stay with the product. There'll be versions of the product that'll come out probably in 2 years that are different than the version that you see now. But I'm not worried about them running out of Apple Vision Pros to sell to people who want to get in on it. And, and if it goes belly up, I'll just sell it on eBay 10 years from now for 5 times the price,
Probably. Yeah, you're talking about the other article I have in here is about this was on Mac Rumors. It was quoting the information saying that Apple has abruptly reduced production of the Vision Pro headset and could stop making the current version device completely by the end of 2024. Again, pure speculation. I even reputable information from the information, I think is. They taken a little bit of a charge here with saying these kind of things, but they cite multiple people directly involved in making components, like you said, that they're scaling back production since the early summer, and they have sufficient number of units in inventory to meet demand for the remaining lifespan through next year. So, yeah, that's typical. Like you said, Jeff, with mentioning the iPod and the iPhone, and the first gen iPhone was. They didn't have a ton of product because it happened to just work its way through, and then you went then the iPhone 3 and the 3G, 3GS all came out, and then it exploded like gangbusters after that. So
can I add one more piece, and then I'll
please.
We'll finish it out. The whole idea of that with app developers, Apple has never had a pleasant relationship with app developers. So it doesn't surprise me that app developers are saying we want more. And particularly in comparison to those that are developing for Meta, where they seem to, at least the article expresses, they get more. The other indicator that Apple Vision Pro was in trouble was because the new apps have dropped off. Most of the apps that came out, the 2,500 that Tim Cook talked about, were ported over from the iPad. They weren't new apps that were created for Vision Pro. They were simply ported over from the iPad. And then they talk about the 10 apps that came out in September. Well,
Yeah.
Look at those 10 apps. They're probably using spatial computing. We're seeing more apps. We're reporting on more apps that are made particularly and specifically for the Vision Pro. So you're seeing apps that now that are trying, fewer of them because they're not just porting them over, that are trying to take full advantage of the spatial computing environment. So again, another way to kind of tell a story that they want to tell using data that doesn't necessarily is not equivalent.
So in a sense, we could say that Vision Pro app releases are starting to increase because we're now getting native apps as opposed to iPad ports.
Yep.
All
That
right,
article's
let's go ahead.
not exciting.
Yeah.
We'll quit.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move on. But before we move on, I'll make sure to give a shout out to the folks in our chat room here at youtube.com/intouch.ios. We have Witherbucket, we have Cletus, and we have Webb Bixby in the chat. Love to have you guys here tonight. A couple comments here. Witherbucket says, but did the cost of the equivalent of $35 as well? And that feels like the biggest hurdle still to come. I'm going with through that. So getting people to buy. Yep, I agree. Pricing is tough. But Cletus made a good point too. His Apple II GS in 1980 was $3,500, and that tells how much that is now these days, comparing the pricing in 1980. So, but yeah, it's definitely interesting. But so glad everybody's here in the chat, and let's we can go ahead and move on.
Can I put another little comment to that?
Sure.
All right. So Witherbucket's question about the $3,500 is that how does that compare really to what we were paying when, say, the iPhone came out?
Right.
All right. So yes, you could get the original iPhone for $600, $700.
I think it's $600.
$600. There was a 4 gig model, but that was around for a couple months and then was gone, so it doesn't really count.
Yeah.
And so yes, if you look at it just like holding up dollar bills, that iPhone did cost less. However, there was no financing for it, so you paid full price up front. You were required to have a 2-year contract with AT&T. And you paid for that contract as if you're financing a phone. So your phone actually cost you $1,200 because you paid for it up front, and then you were paying AT&T exactly the same as you would if you had financed it over those 2 years. So it was a $1,200 phone. It just didn't look like that on the initial price tag.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and move on here. We're going to talk about beta, and 18.1 was released for the release candidate. It has Apple Intelligence included, which finally we're going to get everybody in mainstream have this available on developers, and I believe the public beta came out as well as you've just after a week after the 7th beta was out. And Apple Intelligence includes writing tools that are available whenever text can be selected and edited, as well as used for spell checking, fixing grammar. I really like the summarizing in email, being able to get a summary of someone writes you a long email. You got smart replies are going to be available for messages and mails, plus the mail app surfaces like for time-sensitive messages and puts them at the top of your inbox. Photos has a memory movie feature to create slideshows based on text descriptions. You can record, transcribe, and summarize phone calls. So a lot of cool things to start. Yeah, everybody's going to be bellyaching about the fact that not all the things that Apple announced back in June during WWDC is not going to be out. But you know what? I commend Apple for being smart and holding it back to make sure it's 100% right. Plenty of discussion about this week. In fact, there was an interview with Craig Federighi about where they are with that. And hey, it's Apple Intelligence and AI for that matter is just it's got a ways to go here. And Marty, you being a ChatGPT user, paid user, that you can definitely tell, and you've been experiencing that. How has your been experience so far with Apple and Apple Intelligence?
I forget that I'm running developer beta, and things just start to happen on my phone.
Right.
And I'm like, oh wow, it's integrated into what I'm doing without me realizing that I've run the developer beta to be able to do that. It just feels very natural. And when we get to talk about 18.2, there's other functions in there that are going to be very cool.
Yeah, very much so. Jill, have you been running the beta on yours?
I don't have a device I think that can do Apple Intelligence.
Oh yeah, you need 15 or 15 Pro and higher. Okay.
So I do a lot of ChatGPT, and I have a paid account as well.
Front door doorbell.
Oh. And so I am
Sorry
looking
about that.
forward to it. But I think that probably by the time it'll all be released by the next iPhone. So I guess I'm going to have to wait probably. But excited about it, and I like their pattern to it, that they're going to think this out. They're going to be careful about it, sort of like the Vision Pro. We're going to do this right, and then when we're done, it's going to be great.
Yeah. So, Jeff, I know you're not running beta, so unless you have anything else to add.
I'm running beta on my iPad mini, but since it's a 6, it doesn't support Apple Intelligence.
Yeah. Another reason you might want to, we'll talk about iPad mini in a bit here, but so yeah, let me just hit real quick about tvOS. There hasn't really been much to say about that. We really can't say any major fixes on that. Seems Apple's been kind of lagging with tvOS. Hard to say where that's going to go, but that's another topic for another day here. watchOS 11.1 is release candidates out as well. Not much really to say of major new features in there. There is a fix with an issue that could be causing problems writing breathing disturbance data to the health app. Well, that's the kind of disturbing. So not much else to say about Apple Watch in beta as well. So a couple other things I'll mention before we hit the 18.2. With iOS 18.1, Apple's has released a firmware update for the AirPods Pro 2 for hearing protection availability. It's going to be limited to the US and Canada for now. That's what it says according to Apple's website. The hearing protection feature is going to have continuously monitored for your the user's environment and reduce the impact of loud noises such as traffic or concerts in real time. This function will be integrated across various listening modes, including noise cancellation and transparency mode, but only in the US and Canada. They're also going to have the hearing aid features are going to be out as well. There was just a firmware update that was released as well, and then also there's a iOS 18.1 is going to fix some things with the iPhone 16 with random restarts. I have not seen that. I don't know. Have you Marty with your 16?
I kind of ignore bugs and until I find out there's been a fix for them, and it's like, oh yeah, I guess I did have a few of those fakey starts, Yep. So yeah, I don't see it now, but I in retrospect, I had them.
My big problem was when the way they had that big problem with the touchscreen. That's why I ended up going on beta early, because I was just getting so fed up with that not working, and then they hadn't released a fix right away. So I had a way to fix it, put on beta, and I don't normally do that, but I did. So, all right, let's move on to iOS 18.2. That was just released. It's beta 1. That's for the developers today. Only for devices that support Apple Intelligence. So that means 15 Pro and on all the iPhone 16 models. There's going to be a whole bunch of new AI Apple Intelligence features, including Image Playground and Genmoji will be coming, as well as it's a much more fun update than 18.1 thanks to the image generation features. And there's all kinds of great things, including The image wand, which will be gives you adding images to what you've written in notes. On the iPad, you can use the Apple Pencil to make a rough sketch. Oh, Jeff, you're going to have a blast with this if you get one you can do this with. Mm-hmm. And have an image wand turned into something nicer. S-Lady's ChatGPT, you'll be able to hand over requests to ChatGPT, and that's entirely an opt-in. You don't have to have an account, so that's awesome. You have visual intelligence. Visual intelligence can use to be identifying objects and places around you. Long press the camera control to get visual intelligence, and then point your iPhone at something. You get hours of reviews. If the camera is looking at a restaurant, copy text or get text read aloud. So some writing tools and languages. You'll have some support. It'll be supporting English in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, South Africa, and the UK, in addition to the US. And in Canada, you no longer have to set your iPhone to US English to use Apple Intelligence. Apple Arcade's going to have some, in that section of the App Store, they've added an Apple Arcade section of the App Store. All games section has a new drop-down menu option to turn off the game previews. And then you have the mail app categorization with built-in categories for separating out some important emails, deals, newsletters, transactions, and more. And it just keeps going. Voice memos will be the last thing. That's also, they've added some cool features with that as well. So, and you had some comments on this, Marty. What have you been experiencing with 18.2?
I actually, until I read this article earlier today, I didn't realize there was so much in it.
Me either. That's crazy.
A couple of days ago, I told my wife that the hearing test thing is up now on the iPhone, and she said, "Well, you better take it." And I said, "No, I know I have bad hearing. I don't need Apple to tell me that." So the article that you have by Mac Rumors listed, and I'm sure will be listed in the show notes, the video that guy does about all the different ways in which you can use the app. The first thing you have to do if you're running it is, I saw this icon show up on my phone and I didn't think much of it, but it's Playground. And if you click on Playground, it's like, well, this is a component that's part of the new Apple Intelligence. You have to then submit a request to be allowed in to do it. Similarly, when Apple Intelligence first rolled out in 18.1 with the developer beta, you had to ask permission to do it. Now, the turnaround on that for me was like 1 minute. But this is taking a little longer to turn around. I tried to do it about an hour ago, and I'm still getting early access requested. So I'm waiting for them to tell me I can go in and use Playground. Look at recommendation is for listeners or viewers, look at this article, the Mac Rumors article, and look at I think it's a 7-minute video that goes through some of the major things that you can do in Playground and Image Wand, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. So looking forward to a lot of, my gosh, that's a big, huge addition to more features. More than 18.1, so we'll have plenty to talk about once that gets released out to everybody. Of course, you got to have a 15 Pro or higher to take advantage of those features. So let's go and change gears here. The iPad Mini was released. It's going to be released this week as we record this, and it's available for same day pickup. So as we know, the iPhone Mini 7 has an A17 Pro chip, and it's available same day at Apple stores, and there's no pre-order required. So that tells me that they're going to have plenty of stock, and they don't anticipate a huge run on these. So we know about the features we already talked about with that from last week. A couple of notable things that people are finding, because now the influencers have had the chance to do reviews on them. In iOS 18, they now supports over-the-air recovery using another iOS device. So in iOS 18, Apple includes a new over-the-air recovery feature designed to revive a bricked iPhone 16 devices using another iPhone or iPad, and it appears that the same feature can be used to recover the new iPad Mini 7 as well. So if you place an iPhone 16 next to any device, iPhone or iPad, it'll start an over-the-air firmware recovery that other device downloads a new iOS firmware and transfers it to the brick device, removing the need to connect to a computer. That's amazing. Remember all those years of we having to deal with going into recovery mode and trying to have to do all this stuff? I'll be interested to see how this works. What do you think, Jeff, on this?
It's like you want me to just go out and buy new stuff so I can test everything. And that's fair. No, this is cool. This is stuff that we should have had a long time ago, I think. So I'm excited that we're finally getting it. I just wish it was happening earlier.
Yep. What do you think, Marty?
I wish we would have had that earlier too, particularly yesterday when I tried to set this thing up. Around 11 o'clock last night, I attempted to set up my iPad by sharing it with another device to be able to do it. Said, do you want new software, the updated software? I said, yes. They said, oh, you're part of a beta project. Would you like to carry that over? I said, yes. And then it crashed. So I spent my afternoon, driving over to the Apple store, and because I tried multiple ways to do it, including hooking it up to your MacBook to try and get a recovery mode going. It just wouldn't work. So I spent some time. So this thing has just been turned on essentially about an hour ago. So I'm still getting used to it.
Well, it's interesting to hear you as you continue to use this iPad Mini 7, because this is, if you're going to find it as useful as people may think, because they like to have the smaller size device to travel out with. So it's going to be interesting. So we got an article in our show notes. I'm not going to review it all over again here, but the complete list of 12 changes to know about with this iPad Mini 7. So check that out. And one notable thing here is the fact that it is going to support the iPad Mini 7. It is compatible with Final Cut Pro, but it does lack Stage Manager. It was when Final Cut Pro was released last year, it was the M1 chip and newer, but they now have confirmed that the professional video editing app is now compatible with the 7th gen iPad Mini. That's pretty awesome. The Apple recently updated the App Store listing for Final Cut Pro that it is available for the M series and the A17 Pro chip on the new iPad Mini. Apple's audio editing program, Logic Pro, is also compatible with the new iPad Mini, as the app merely requires an iPad model with A12 or newer, so you're okay with that. However, the Final Cut Pro features are not compatible with the new iPad Mini due to hardware or software limitations, as it does in the app description. So you have some limitations. But on supported iPads, the Stage Manager allows you to resize apps into overlapping windows and improves the multitasking experience. And Stage Manager also fully supports an external display up to 6K, but it's not supported on the 7. So you've got some pros and you've got some cons when it comes to the iPad. But I think the iPad Mini 7 is not probably meant to be something like this. I would have a tough time doing Final Cut Pro on an iPad Mini, wouldn't you, Jeff?
Yeah, I'd have a problem with that. And I'm someone that does all my video editing on an iPad. I'm using LumaFusion on an iPad Pro. What's the big screen? 12-inch, 13-inch, whatever. Yeah. And that's a perfectly fine size for that. Mm-hmm. But I would not want to do that on an iPad Mini. And I know I can run LumaFusion there, but no, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
That said, boy, if I didn't already have an iPad Mini 6, I would probably be going to the Apple Store tomorrow to pick
get a
up
good
an
trade-in
iPad
value
Mini
on
7.
it. Don't forget that.
Good trade-in value on it, Jeff.
Marty knows.
Yeah, but see, I know how this goes. I'll get it, and then I'll be like, I need an Apple Pencil that works with this, and I have to buy an Apple Pencil Pro because I don't have one, because
you could get the USB-C version too if you really wanted to be cheap. And be really irritated.
What have I done to annoy you, Dave? Anyhow, it would just it would cascade into all these other things. So here's the process. I would go in, iPad Mini 7, great. Well, I should get an Apple Pencil Pro for this so that I have an Apple Pencil I can use with it. You know, if I've got an Apple Pencil Pro, I should really be able to take advantage of all the features on it in the way that I want to. So I'm going to have to buy a new 13-inch iPad Pro. And suddenly my iPad Mini, I'm throwing out over $3,000.
Yeah. All right, let's get Jill in here. Do you have any thoughts about the iPad Mini? Which is something you would consider?
I think I have the original iPad Mini, and so it has a crack in
Oh.
it. It is older than dirt. Apple already told me they're not going to give me anything for the trade-in, but I
that's old.
am ready for it. And I would have
Okay,
probably picked
good.
it up tonight, but I got an invitation to be here to talk
Aw.
about it instead. But I
Aw.
do want the Pencil Pro. I do want the iPad Mini.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about it, I think. But
When-
I wanted to make sure this jelly business was the jelly screen was taken care of, and so I wanted to hear some reviews. Because I
Okay.
was going to go out and buy the 6.
The reviews that I've seen,
Mhm.
actually, no. I'm going into the sentence the wrong way. I expect the reviews are going to say the same things about the screen because that isn't changing. Same display as in the Mini 6.
Hmm.
So have you seen the display on a Mini 6?
No, I never have. And
Don't worry about the jelly thing.
Okay.
That's a bunch of people that are just cranky pants. Seriously, I have the Mini 6 and I have played with it to look and see if that jelly display thing is a problem for me. If you're scrolling that fast,
yeah.
then it doesn't matter because you don't need to see what's on the screen because you're scrolling too fast. So don't worry about it.
Yeah. I think the combination of the new pencil and the iPad Mini, I think it's going to be great. And it'll give me something that will use the Apple Intelligence. So it's kind of a triple threat there. So, yeah.
Yep. All right. Last topic I want to hit before we hit the news here. AT&T, believe it or not, you can now try AT&T's network for free. AT&T announced a new promotion that allows potential new customers to try out the AT&T network for 30 days free. Customers with an iPhone that has an eSIM can download the My AT&T app, which I already am a customer because I have AT&T fiber, and visited the free trial website to sign up for temporary access to the AT&T network. No credit cards required for the trial, and it includes 5G access. You can go from the 10R all the way up to, of course, the 16 and be able to do it. AT&T is going to provide unlimited talk and text, 100 gigabytes of data, 25 gigabytes of personal hotspot, 5G access on their network, and unlimited texting across the United States and 230 countries. After the 30-day trial ends, it'll be canceled automatically, but customers will have the option to sign up for the service. I took advantage of this, and I thought it was interesting. I wanted to test it where I was in areas that I sometimes have challenges, because T-Mobile tends to be really good here in the Chicago area. And there were some extra areas, like, and I came from AT&T, went to T-Mobile, so I didn't miss them one bit because I was really annoyed with them because the way they charged for things back those days, it was bad. But the data was not so good, honestly. I mean, in the area where I was, I even check it here. I mean, I don't have real good spots in my house here because I get like sometimes up to 2 bars. I still have 5G with T-Mobile, but if anybody doesn't know it, it's really super easy to be able to have it, which is kind of weird to have 2 networks on the same phone. So I had it turned off here, but you just go into under cellular, and it'll show all your eSIMs that are listed. And I've got my primary T-Mobile account as well as the AT&T account. And yeah, I can try it now. I've been trying it I just signed up, it was like 2 days ago, so I got less than 30 days left. But interesting to see how AT&T's doing this. And I wanted to see if other carriers are going to follow suit with this, let you try their network too. So it's going to be interesting. What do you think about this, Marty?
I have been, prior to getting an iPhone, I was a Sprint and then T-Mobile user
I was Sprint
on
too.
previous iPhones. And the networks at that time were terrible. And in order to get an iPhone, I had to switch to AT&T. And frankly, have been a customer of AT&T since the first iPhone that came out. Through all the complaints and the pricing and the stuff like that. And now I've got the whole family plan, and it's pretty integrated. And with that kind of stuff, the pricing structure has come down. And now we've gotten reports that T-Mobile is going to be raising you can never change your price. Your lifetime price is going to be not lifetime anymore. Yeah.
We'll see what happens with mine. I'm on the Magenta plan, and it's been great because I have all the family plan, all my family is on it, and we've got like 8 lines, and they gave me 2 free lines, so I've got those too that I use on other phones here. It's just because I can.
Mhm.
And Jeff, you left AT&T, right? You went to Mint Mobile, did you not?
I did. And so I had the same experience you did, 2 carriers on one phone, because I could sign up for Mint with an eSIM, and then I had a little overlap while I made sure that Mint was really going to work for me before I canceled AT&T. I do find it kind of funny that AT&T is saying, hey, you can try our network for free. Okay, good for you. You got around to doing the same thing everyone else did years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
But it's easy. That's what's great about it. It was extremely easy to set. I mean, I was set up in like less than 5 minutes.
Yeah. And that was my experience getting set up with Mint while I was testing that. It was super fast, and I'm sitting there waiting for something to go wrong, and I'm like, oh, I have 2 phone numbers right now. That's weird.
Yep.
But yeah, I left AT&T and went to Mint because of how much money I was spending.
Yep.
Yeah.
No turning back.
My second line is a Mint eSIM.
Yeah.
So I concur, Jeff.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great. And every time I go into Costco and the AT&T people are like, hey, you need a new plan. I'm like, hey, no, I don't.
with your one item in your cart at Costco, of course.
The bananas.
Oh, you people know me so well. I did that a couple days ago. No kidding.
I figured.
Yeah.
Jill, you have any thoughts on this?
I worked for AT&T way back when they were WorldNet, and I was very
God.
disgruntled about their treatment of customers. And then my elderly friends who live down the street have them, and they are giving them nothing. I mean, like, the internet is terrible. And I have a grudge against them, to be quite honest. And so I think it's creative. I give them kudos for the app for doing it, but every person I know who had AT&T couldn't get signal anywhere. You know, I'd be on trips with people, and I have Verizon, which is great, especially up here in the North Woods in the middle of nowheres, and I really like it. So,
Yeah. Yep. I do too.
but
All
creative.
right. They are, for sure. All right, let's move to the news for this week. I think Jeff's going to be very excited about this. AstroPad launches the bookcase for turning your iPhone into an e-reader. Astro, known for Luna Display, Rock Paper Pencil, and Astro Studio app, today launched a new accessory called Bookcase. Bookcase adds handles to the iPhone or another smartphone and make the device more compatible when holding when you're reading. With Bookcase, AstroPad is able to turn the iPhone into an e-reader. Accessory provides more ergonomic gripping for long reading sessions. Holding the iPhone doesn't block part of the display. The Bookcase is adjustable, so it's able to work with almost any modern iPhone and Android smartphone. Comes with a companion app that creates shortcuts to launch reading apps automatically. With the shortcut, a reading app can be set to open whenever the iPhone is put into the Bookcase, including with an NFC tag. With the iPhone 12 or later, it secures to the Bookcase using MagSafe. Older iPhones, there's an included MagSafe conversion kit. That's interesting. Boy, they really thought of something here. And it's only $40. All right, Jeff, what do you think? I know you love these guys.
I saw the email this morning when it came out, and my first thought was, that's stupid. And then I started thinking about it, and then I realized, no, I'm stupid, because this is actually a really great idea.
Mm-hmm.
And once I was able to wrap my feeble little brain around what this is, I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. Why isn't this already a thing? I don't want something like this when I'm out and about, but if I'm at home, one of the reasons I use my iPad mini so much is because you can hold it in a way that you hold an ebook reader. If I can do that with my iPhone then ends up replacing some of the things that I'm otherwise using an iPad for. I think this is really cool, and now I want one.
And I might be twisting my arm to try it too, just because. It's only $40.
Yeah, it's only $40. Yeah.
How about you, Jill?
I'd like to try some of their other products. I've been interested in some of the other ones that you've mentioned. This would be a great idea, and my mini did replace my Kindle. So I would love it if they had something like this for mini. But I don't read on my iPhone very much, I guess. I do it for everything, almost everything on it, but I just don't read on it. So I think it's a cool idea for sure, but it's probably not for me.
And you, Marty?
First thing I did was scroll down to see what the cost was, and I said $40. Interesting. The thing that I don't understand is, what do they do with the camera bump on it? How does that work across a flush back that has MagSafe on it? And are the sides sort of touch sensitive? So if I want to scroll a page, am I still touching my phone to do it? Or can I use like my thumb direction on the side to advance a page on it?
I can
Just
answer
that-
part of that.
Okay.
Because of the MagSafe thing, it lifts the iPhone up. So that accounts for the camera bump.
Okay.
As far as can the sides be touch sensitive so you're scrolling from there? I don't know, but I don't think so.
That's too bad. For $40, probably not. But I get the holding it, because trying to do and, just hold it in one hand and scroll with the other, it's a different feel than holding it like a book or like a Kindle or other types of reading devices, a Nook.
Yep. So, well, my arm might get twisted to check it out. Moving on. Too bad Ben's not here this week. iPhone driver's license support is now expanded to Iowa. iPhone users in Iowa are now going to be able to add their driver's licenses and IDs to the Apple Wallet app and on the iPhone and the Apple Watch, allowing them to use in lieu of a physical ID. Iowans can add a license or state ID to the Apple Wallet app by opening up, tapping the plus button, and following the on-screen instructions and verification processes. The digital ID in Apple Wallet app can be used at select TSA checkpoints. That's a key at select. It does include in Des Moines and the eastern Iowa airports, as well as some business venues. It can also be used within select apps when ID is required. So looks like another state is doing it. So far we've got a lot of states are very slow. It's not here in Illinois yet, but so far you got Arizona, Colorado, Georgia, Maryland, Hawaii, California, and Ohio just implemented their support for you, Marty.
Yeah.
And then Apple's said to be working with Connecticut, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Utah, Montana, New Mexico, and West Virginia are also working on support. God, West Virginia before Illinois, jeez. So, Jeff, you've been using it in Colorado. I know you've had some love-hate relationship with that.
It's cool. The problem I have is lack of support for the digital ID. So like if I were to be stopped by the police for a traffic stop, there's like 5 agencies in Colorado that support this. So going around without your actual driver's license in Colorado is not an option. If you go into stores that need to card you, that are required to accept this as valid ID, they don't. They don't even have a clue what it is. And we've had the Apple digital ID for what, 2-3 years now, something like that. We do finally have support in the Denver airport, and that was cool because I also have TSA pre-check. So now when I go through the pre-check line, you get up to where you would pull out your ID and your ticket, all of that, scan my digital ID on my phone, which is just a tap to the thing, and that's it. Because it's already linked your plane ticket to your ID, and you just go on through. It's super fast, and it's worth it for that. But I'm looking forward to when we see wider adoption for this, because it's going to be super handy when I can just use it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments on the license? We've talked about this a number of times here since they've been adding states.
I just see it as a backup. I mean, I'm going to carry my license with me, but if something should happen to my wallet, I know I've got that information secure within my phone wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Agreed.
Hey, we should talk just very briefly about what this means. Like if you're in a place where it is supported and you have like a traffic stop, A lot of
Yep.
people are under the impression that you have to unlock your phone and hand it to the police so that they can look at the ID. That's not how this works. Police will have a scanner thing
Mhm.
that's like clipped on their uniform, sort of like the cameras that they use, the body cam things.
Body cams.
So when you you show them your ID, it's just a thing where it scans what's being transmitted from the phone. They never touch your phone. They never actually see a physical ID. There's nothing for them to get a hold of. But then that links back to your ID through the state. So when they get back to their patrol car and do everything else, they've got everything up showing your valid ID. So
Yep.
you don't hand over your phone for this.
I mostly really like it because you go and buy liquor, which I never do. But, then they look at your card and they see your weight and your address, and you're like, you don't need to see my whole history here,
Right.
And I just love that I'm excited.
Yep. All right. A few more stories before we wrap up for this week. I wanted to just kind of touch on this a little bit. It's interesting what Apple's doing with the M4 Mac announcements for next week. As we record this, they're going to be announcing stuff starting on October 28th. Greg Joswiak also made it clear that Apple, over in social media, plans to reveal new products next week. He teased refreshed Macs in a social media post and says, "Mark your calendars because there is an exciting week of announcements starting on Monday morning." With Jaws' announcement, it appears that there will not be a dedicated October event for Macs this year, and Apple instead is introducing new products via press release. On Monday, we'll see the launch of iOS 18.1 coming up this week, as well as iPad OS 18.1 and macOS Tall Trees 15.1 software updates, as well as the new Mac announcement should start on Monday. In prior years, Apple's done a launch per day release schedule for new products when there wasn't even an event planned. So this is interesting how they're doing this. What they're looking at here is new MacBook Pros. I think I'm going to be super excited to see if this new Mac Mini that they're saying could be the size of an Apple TV, which is crazy, as well as finally RAM is going to start at 16 gigs instead of 8. Long freaking overdue. 8 gig, give me a break. Providing much better performance, especially for Apple Intelligence features. So, anybody excited about this? I know. I think I might be. I see a iPad Mac Mini in my life. I might even be tempted to ditch my primary Mac that I use as my 16-inch M1 MacBook Pro, just because. But do I really need it since I have a MacBook Air as my travel Mac now?
I'm thinking the same way you are, although I'm not in the market to buy right now.
Yeah.
But I could see a day where I don't have a MacBook Pro anymore. I just have a Mac Mini on my desk.
Yeah.
That's more powerful than whatever MacBook Pro I'm replacing. And then I have my iPad Pro as my travel machine.
I know, Marty, you're going to be like all over this buying stuff, right?
I would do the Mini because I have one in my office that I can sell back and replace, just because I'd like to see what the form factor is. And then the potential for me to be able to throw it in a briefcase and take it with me on a trip, as long, maybe hook it up to the hotel room television or or bring a portable monitor with me, which I generally bring anyways with my computer so I can have two monitors. So the Mini sounds kind of appealing. I'm really not interested in the iMac. I'll probably, the next upgrade in a work machine or my studio will be if a new studio comes out and they're rumored in maybe March or April, then I'll look at a serious upgrade for my studio at home. Sure. Just the iMac I have used to be my work machine. It's now sitting in a second room. It gets turned on once every month or so when my wife wants to use it. And she's using it less and less for her iPad. So that probably won't be a replenish. And I'll take a look at the MacBook Pro in terms of the M4 and see what I can get in terms of trade up from that.
What about you, Jill?
Yeah, I thought about it initially, but because I have the M1, and so far it's doing all right for me, and I'm not having any troubles with it. So I was wondering what they would give me on a trade-in and what it would cost me in the end to go to an M4, because you sort of want to be in that space where you can still get money for your upgrade. So I thought I would look at it, but I really like the idea of the Mac Mini. I have an M1 Mac Mini and it runs headless
Me too.
in my house, and it backs up everything. It in 3 different locations. It runs the music in this house for my bird. I mean, it runs this whole house. I love the idea of that Mac Mini, and I think I'm with you that maybe someday I'm just going to do the Mac Mini and do an Air and get out of Pro.
Yeah.
I like that combination. Will the Mac Mini go with your Vision Pro so that you could take that and the Mac Mini on a trip and not bring monitors?
Wouldn't
Good
that be
question.
cool if you could do a headless
I
Mac
would love
Mini,
that.
but it connects just to the Vision Pro?
Vision Pro?
That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Me too.
I'm sure it will. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, I can't see why I wouldn't either. I've got 2 M1 Mac Minis, but both have 8 gigs of RAM, so I'd be happy to trade both of them in to get a new one of those. We'll see what happens. 2 more stories before we wrap up here. Hulu and Disney Plus is now going to no longer support signups and payments using the App Store. Disney is no longer allowing customers to sign up for purchase subscriptions to Hulu or Disney Plus through the Apple's App Store without cutting out any subscription fees that Disney would have to need to pay to Apple for this in-app purchase. The changes were noted on Reddit over the weekend this week, and the details on Disney Plus and Hulu's websites, both Disney Plus and Hulu's websites, saying that new and returning subscribers cannot sign up for and pay for it through Apple, but existing Apple billed subscribers are not affected. Apple, Hulu, and Disney Plus customers can still watch content on their Apple devices by signing into their accounts, but on iOS apps, as of course on your Apple TV as well. Apple collects anywhere between 15 and 30% fee, so I'm not surprised to see more of these guys to do this. I did subscribe to the Disney Plus Hulu bundle through the App Store, but I wanted to. They are now offering, because I also like HBO, which is their Max product, and I was paying a separate subscription for that too. So they now have a triple bundle where you have Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max, and I'm doing it with no commercials, no ads for $29.99 a month. And I looked at the pricing of what I was paying, and it's like, this is a no-brainer. Why am I doing this? So I canceled my App Store version of that and jumped right in and got all 3 bundled into one. So. Marty, you got any thoughts?
I'm paying through Disney to get ESPN 2
Plus?
and the Hulu. We started with Hulu and then we kind of extended into Disney, and then it's like, well, there are some state football games and college football games I want to watch, so I just decided to bundle up that way. Haven't done it through the Apple Store, just did it directly from the site and then log into it when I need it.
I did too. How about you, Jeff?
I'm not surprised to see this.
Nope.
The part that does surprise me a little is that they're not giving you the option. It's just, this is the only way. You have to do it through us. You can't do it through an Apple subscription anymore. For me, it doesn't change anything because I've been signed up for Disney outside of Apple subscription for a while. But yeah, I wish they would have given people the option.
Yeah, for sure. So that is the show for this week. Wow, we talked about a lot of great stuff this week. There's so much to talk about, and we'll continue to do this. And with that, let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That is a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon at intouchwithios, at techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which is Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/intouchwithios. It was so great to see everybody in the chat tonight. So love everybody joining us live here. So you can watch the live feed as well as the recorded, the past live streams, as well as listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways are on that website. I am Dave Ginsberg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. Jill McKinley, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure having you. Where can people find you?
Thank you very much. My main website is abetterlifeinsmallsteps.com, but my last podcast is Buzz, Blossom, and Squeak, and that's where I'm primarily putting a lot of my energy into. It's all about nature. So
great. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
As always, it was always a pleasure having you. And Marty Jencius, thank you for being here. Always having fun having you here. Where can people find you?
Tuesday nights with Chuck on Mac Voices, and with a lot of folks here, part of it too. Of course, tonight, Thursday nights with Dave Ginsberg on In Touch with iOS. I got to get this right. Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time with Vision Profiles. Eric does a podcast with me, actually live stream, and then Eric Bolden and I live stream it through YouTube at Vision Profiles on YouTube. And we also turn it into a podcast. A couple of other podcasts, Circular Firing Squad and Tech Savvy Professor. You can find it all at thepodtalk.net.
Excellent. Look, I'll pull a web here. I found my little thing here to promote your show here. There you go.
I have one of those too. I feel like we're in an exclusive.
I do have one of those. And
I think I'm due to come on your show here. That's a way. Nudge. Because I've been doing this Vision Pro for it's way over a month now. So.
Yeah, so, I'll talk to Eric, and maybe, if not Monday, the next month, probably the next Monday.
Absolutely. But not that I'm trying to invite myself, but yes, I think we're due. Get some good insights now from my time with it. So anyway, last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet, thank you always for being here. I appreciate you. And where can people find you?
Dave, it's always a treat to get to be here, and I appreciate that you keep letting me come on despite all of this. Anyhow, so on social media, I'm Jay Gamet. On pretty much all of them. I'm active right now on Mastodon and Instagram. Then for shows, Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live on Tuesdays. Here with you on In Touch with iOS on Thursdays. On the British Tech Network, The Big Show on Thursdays, The Mac Show on Fridays. Brian Chaffin and I do The Context Machine, and Patrice Brendamore and I do Retro Rewatch. And right now, we are just coming up on the mid-season finale episode of Stargate SG-1 Season 1. So we're having
how is it? How can it be a mid-season finale?
It's I know, but if you look back at what we had in TV shows like in the 90s, we would have 22, 24, 26 episode seasons. And so there'd be like a mid-season break. Yeah. And so episode 15, that's the last episode before the break. And anyhow, so a mid-season finale, I guess.
Well, it's good. You got to take a little bit of a break. That's a lot of episodes you guys have been cranking through.
That's a lot of episodes.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Jeff. Thank everybody else for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We always have a great time doing the show, and we'll be back again next week. So until next time, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk again soon.